We have drama among the Atlanta Hawks and Dejounte Murray, and it's only been, less than 2 weeks since the guy was traded. And I remember before we decided, and it was probably a few days before the trade happened, and I think I predicted that Trey Young would be traded, but Dejounte Murray was traded. It doesn't really matter which. We knew one of them was going to be traded, but my prediction was really that it was going to come out that these two guys did not like playing with each other at all. And what do we have? 2 weeks later, we're already seeing, some of that as Dejounte Murray in his first appearance with the Pelicans. First interview starts talking about defense and throwing shade at the Hawks and their defense. And when you think about defense and the Hawks, you think about Trey Young, and it's like, who was he throwing shade at? I mean, let's be real. Like, he was throwing shade at Trey Young, and I'm sure there were other members of the Hawks, but he was throwing shade at Trey Young. I mean, I don't think there's any doubt about what he was doing, and I think this is the first of many. Like, I think this is. I would not be surprised at all if when Trey Young shows up and has his next interview or an interview down the road, he throws some shade back, and then there's some Twitter beef, and this is always felt like an explosion waiting to happen. And whether you're into this stuff or whether it's not, it's a huge part of the NBA. It's one of the biggest parts of the
crazy.
NBA.
It's the only thing they have.
I mean, it quite literally, NBA and social media. NBA does such a fantastic job on social media. They curate it perfectly on every single platform. They're so far ahead of every other league. It's the only reason why they're making more money than just about every league, because they certainly aren't getting the viewership that everyone else is. But yeah, I mean, this. I could see this coming from a mile away. It's coming to fruition probably sooner than I even thought.
This is his first.
I mean,
one of his first media
public appearance,
other than the actual introduction, where he was up there with David Griffin and blanking on the Pels owner's name. This was his first sit-down interview, and it came out. And I want to say Trey Young is going to be asked. There's Hawks media going on as we are recording right now, so maybe we'll talk about something Trey said tomorrow. This is the perfect opportunity for Trey Young to take the high road to kind of squash that. All right, I know what you want. Oh, I want it. I want drama. I want something to talk about. I want there to be some sort of rivalry here. I'm not going to act like that wouldn't be fun, but I'm talking from a strategic point of view, from a Hawks point of view, from a Trey Young point of view. This is the perfect opportunity to take the high road and kind of squash all that narrative that you're immature, that you can't be a leader, that all that noise from the outside. This is the perfect opportunity to take the high road. Will he do that? We'll see. We could be doing our next segment about something that Trey Young said, but I think that what I took away from it is two things. It's always somewhere in the middle for me. And I know how you feel about Dejounte Murray's defense. I don't think it was that bad in terms of what Hawks fans were making it out to be, as he was the worst defender in the NBA last year. That's just not true. The Hawks were a crappy defensive team altogether. Part of that was scheme. I know some people might not want to admit that, but it was absolutely in part because of scheme, in part because of personnel. But I also think that Dejounte Murray acting like he's this all NBA guy or all defensive guy is just bullcrap, because he wasn't that guy last year. He wasn't that guy before he was traded to the Hawks anymore. And it stems from that ACL injury, which is fair, but to keep acting like you're that guy is disingenuous. And it's only disingenuous because he's pointing the finger at the Hawks and Trey Young. Very obviously, even if he didn't say it out loud, he said it. And I think what's most frustrating for Hawks fans is because they're finally swallowing the pill. When the Hawks traded for Dejounte Murray some years ago, we had the exact same dynamic between Hawks fans and Spurs fans. And Spurs fans were trying to tell Hawks fans via social media, like, this isn't that guy anymore. Defensively, we're talking about. He's not that guy anymore. He's a little bit divisive. He's not this team first rah-rah guy that maybe the facade looks like. And now, shoes on the other foot. Hawks fans are trying to tell Pels fans that, like, hey, he's not that defensive guy anymore. He isn't this, rah-rah, I'll do anything to help the team kind of guy. And I think the Pels fans, listen, I love Dejounte Murray. I love him as a player. I wish the Hawks could have worked out with Dejounte Murray and Trey Young. It just didn't. But for whatever reason, there does seem to be some, he kind of crutch leans on the social media, pointing the finger, that kind of stuff.
Yeah, I mean, he's been a kind of a drama queen. And you pair him with Trey Young, you got two drama queens.
Yeah.
So that's why I expect this to explode, because I don't think Trey Young's going to play go the high road. I think he'll probably say something, maybe take a subtle jab. Maybe he doesn't. And maybe it comes out later. Maybe he has a few drinks some night and takes to social media. You know?
His From the Point pod, he has a couple couple glasses of wine, gets a little comfortable.
It might not happen. He might say something, say all the right things this time. Maybe he does do the right things, because I do think for Trey Young, like, it'd probably be in his best interest, not even the Hawks' best interest, because I don't think it really matters for the Hawks, but like, I think for his best interest and his image and stuff.
Well, I think it's good for the Hawks. Like, don't we want to recruit somebody here eventually?
We're not recruiting anybody.
But this is a step in that direction.
We haven't recruited someone in 27 years, probably more than that.
We haven't signed an above. We haven't signed a free agent above the league minimum in 3 years.
Yeah, I mean, we don't recruit players. We never have. I mean, we got Dwight Howard at the tail end of his career because we begged him and gave him
Vince Carter. Got Vince Carter.
Yeah, Carmelo Anthony too. We don't recruit players. One thing I'll say about Dejounte Murray, I mean, listen, is he the worst of? He's probably somewhere in the middle, maybe with another team. He was terrible for the Hawks, and partially was the fact that he was probably playing with Trey Young, and both of them were asked to do a little too much on the defensive end. But he was very bad for the Hawks defensively. He was like, there's every statistical point to Dejounte Murray being a bad defender for the Atlanta Hawks. So. Is Trey Young a part of that? Obviously. Is the Hawks as a whole and them just running and gunning up the floor? That probably has something to do with it. I think a lot of things have something to do with it, but is he going to go there and be a star defender? No. Is drama coming? Probably. And I'm here for it. At the end of the day, like, what do we have as Hawks fans?
I was just about to say, what else do we have?
I mean, what do we have? I mean, frankly, like, if you're looking at this roster, I mean, I don't know what direction the Hawks. I guess they're building for the future. Trey Young, he seems like he doesn't want to be a part of a rebuild. Is that trade coming down the pike at some point? It's definitely not coming this year, but next year you have a pick swap. I don't know. I have no idea what the Atlanta Hawks are going to do, because they're in a tough spot. And it seems like we say this every single year with the Hawks, at least since the Dejounte Murray trade. We're in a tough spot.
We're in a tight spot. We're in a tight spot. That's a quote. He's never seen that movie. If you have, good for you. Yeah, I don't know what they're going to do, but all I do know is that Pels-Hawks matchup, what do they play twice probably, is going to be must-watch TV. I don't care what the season looks like.
Well, we're going to see, Dejounte Murray and his defense. His all-NBA defense.
Well, I'm excited to see that Trae, Dejounte Murray at the top of the key. Oh, it's going to be sweet.
But knowing the NBA, one of them will be injured and they won't play.
That's fair.
Because they don't like the NBA doesn't like rivalries, so they just let them sit out these games.
That's fair. It is hilarious that the Hawks and Pels have had absolutely no beef. We don't even think about them. They don't think about us. And the only real animosity between these two fan bases is built on a completely different sport. It's just Atlanta hating New Orleans because of the Falcons and Saints. That's really it. And this has just sparked a rivalry that has no business in the NBA, but I'm here for it. I love it.
I mean, listen, that'll be a few games. If I don't watch many Hawks games, that'll be one of them.